Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, The Search with Lisa. If you are new, welcome, and I hope that you enjoy this episode today, and I hope that afterwards that you decide to subscribe and become a part of the Search Warriors. If you are already a member or have been here already, thank you. And the more that we share and get this out in the algorithm, the more that we can help, hopefully, and we can help serve justice. So today we are going to be talking about autism and crime and how the justice system, especially the police interrogations, can totally fail people on the spectrum. If you guys are not familiar, April is Autism Awareness, and I couldn't think of a better month to do this episode. So, we are actually going to explore why standard police tactics can be dangerous and how this has been played out in real life cases like Nicholas Godejohn and Bryan Kohberger, and what we need to do better as a society. This isn't just about crime, guys. It's about understanding people and maybe even saving lives in the process. What I want to do first is kind of start from the beginning so that we all have an understanding. The autism spectrum disorder, also known as ASD, isn't a mental illness. It is a neurological condition. It affects how someone processes information, interacts socially, and communicates, basically with the world. For example, I want to give you someone with autism and some things that they might experience, like avoiding eye contact, speak in monotone voice, so like no expression, whether it's sad, mad, angry, happy, truthful, lying, just monotone, having repetitive behaviors, taking things literally, like as others may know when you're joking, someone with autism may not take it as a joke, or they actually take it literally. Need extra time to process questions. These are things that really play a part in so many things, even in schools, taking tests, just all around in the world. And that is why it is so important today to discuss this. And remember, guys, none of this is bad. It's just different, okay? And I really hope that's what people know, that that's what I'm trying to say. But in the wrong setting, in a high pressure interrogation, those differences can be misread and in really dangerous ways. And it's not just interrogations. People with autism are also more likely to be taken advantage of by peers, by manipulators, and sadly, sometimes by the justice system itself. Their trusting nature, difficulty recognizing, manipulation, and eagerness to please can make them targets of exploitation, or even cause them to become unwitting participations in criminal situations. Let's break down a few common ways autistic people are taken advantage of. Social manipulation. Someone might pretend to be their friend, but use them to carry out illegal activities, knowing that they're unlikely to question instructions. See, we'll get to that. Financial exploitation. They may be coerced into signing away money, agreeing to unfair deals, or giving out personal information because they don't recognize red flags. Another one is online grooming. Autistic individuals may be more trusting in digital communication, making them vulnerable to predators and scammers. False confessions. During the police questioning, they might say what they think the officer wants to hear. to make the situation stop, not realizing the full legal impact. Legal misunderstanding. They may not fully grasp their rights or the seriousness of the situation, especially without proper advocacy present, which I think is so important when we're going to touch on that. These vulnerabilities don't make someone weak. They highlight why protection and understanding is so important. You are not weak. I always say, especially with autism, you are warriors. Let's move on. We are going to get into why interrogation can go very wrong. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about police interrogation. So I hope at the beginning you guys are all really getting a grasp of what having autism can be like and things that they experience. There's such a big subject, but I wanted to kind of narrow it down, especially to do with the 2 case studies that we are going to use them with, and to really hopefully open up some ears and eyes. Okay? So, talking about police interrogations, these aren't friendly chats, are they? They're strategic, psychological encounters designed to what? Get confessions. Okay? Remember earlier we talked about manipulations, different things. Those cues may not be recognized. The problem, these tactics assume that the person being questioned is neurotypical. Someone with autism might not understand why they're being asked, get overwhelmed by being in the environment, seem cold or flat emotionally, agree to anything just to make it stop. That's called a compliant false confession. It's not guilt, it's a neurological self-preservation. And remember, because of their social challenges, autistic individuals may not insert their rights to ask for a lawyer. They may not trust that the officer questioning them is there to help. So now I want to get into a case. I'm going to start with Nicholas Godejohn. A lot of my community, personally, I know is very familiar with him, but so many now I know in the world, hopefully, or in our country, know about Nicholas Godejohn, as so many creators are trying our hardest to get out his story, which is one reason why I chose to do this as well. He was involved in a murder of Dee Dee Blanchard with his girlfriend Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who had been allegedly medically abused her entire life. These are things that she told Nick. All right? Again, remember we use things of discussing manipulation and what people can do and how they can be taken advantage of. Nicholas is autistic. During his interrogation, he didn't show a lot of emotion. His voice was very flat. His body language was off, but to police and the jury, it looked cold. Now, I've looked in his interrogation. I wouldn't necessarily say it was exactly flat, but I definitely could tell that he definitely was missing his cues and needed representation. He was diagnosed and it did come out after the crime. But by then, the damage was done. Now he is serving life in prison. He is a man with autism, a low IQ, and also on a disability check. Some advocates argue that Nick was manipulated. His autism made it hard to fully understand the consequences of his actions or resist the emotional pressure from Gypsy, someone he loved and wanted to protect. So see, we're talking even two situations, two separate things with Nick. We have Gypsy, who worked on him for over a year and discussing of wanting to be with him and what it would take. Okay? Today we're not getting all into the case. We are just discussing Nick and the unfairly treatment due to him having autism. And then also, not only with Gypsy, but once he was in the system and how he was treated. So, we are going to move on and we will return back to that. Another one that I want to talk about that is really big in the news right now is Bryan Kohberger. Now, this is basically like perception versus reality. Bryan Kohberger is accused of killing 4 Universities of Idaho students. His defense says he is autistic and that matters in how people perceive his behavior. Autistic people can seem awkward or emotionally detached, but jurors might take that as he doesn't care or he looks guilty. Expression isn't the same as guilt. And if we were not careful, we judge people not for what they did, but for how they looked under stress. Whether Kohberger is guilty or not, the takeaways this is neurodivergent behavior must be correctly interpreted in legal settings or it can lead to devastating misunderstandings. So, what do we need to change? What can we do? Police need real autism training. Autistic people should have an advocate present in all interviews. Jurors and judges need to understand neurodiversity. Schools and communities should teach autistic individuals about their legal rights. Folks, when I decided to do this, I was not in the goal to excuse crime, okay? It's to make sure we don't punish people for being different or let them be manipulated into situations they don't fully grasp. I want to kind of bring up some final thoughts on this. Autism doesn't make someone guilty, but if we don't understand how autism works, we risk convicting innocent people based on how they act, not what they did. We cannot afford to make that kind of mistake. We need to build a justice system that understands difference, that treats people fairly, that protects everyone. So, as you see now, in just doing 2 case studies, we have one, Nicholas Godejohn, who was not only manipulated into doing a crime that now has landed him in life in prison without parole, while the one that helped plan it, Gypsy Rose, is out after 8.5 years. Do you see why this is so important? We now have Bryan Kohberger, who is just getting ready. He will not start full trial, until August of 2025. In our country, we are innocent until proven guilty. And that is really how we are supposed to look at it until we have all the facts. Not speculations, all the facts. But if we are not learned and taught these cues and taught about autism and what goes with it, if Kohberger is innocent, He very well could be the next Nicholas Godejohn, serving life without parole. Now, am I saying that Nick is innocent and should not be there? No. And like I said, this is not a deep dive on them themselves that we're talking about. This is just how there has been some injustice done because of their reactions. They're not doing what the norm is supposed to be. With that being said, with Kohberger going into trial, I do feel that the jury and all involved need to be educated on this. Because when he does take the stand and he does speak, if this is not brought in front and people are not educated, what he says can be very misjudged. He can be looked at as someone cold, someone with no empathy, when in reality, a lot of people with autism do not commit crimes. In this video, I hope it helped you learn something new. I hope that you appreciated just taking time out to kind of look at both of these together because we're hearing it more common. I just chose two people that we're currently hearing in the news to help relate to what I'm talking about. If this video helped you learn, again, something new, please give it a like, hit a subscribe, and share it with someone who really needs to hear this. And tell me in the comments, should autism training be mandatory for police? Thanks for watching, guys. Stay kind, stay curious, and I will see you on the next search. Have a good evening.